Hey everyone, welcome to the KU Report and a company update from Sitka Gold, chatting with Mike Burke, Director and Vice President of Corporate Development. We are going to be recapping a recent round of drill results from that Rhosgobel area again, that holes continue to hit over that 100-gram meter results. Also discuss financing that the company just closed for over $30 million. Sitka Gold is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol SIG, on the OTCQB under the symbol SITKF, and the Frankfurt Exchange 1RF. Mike, let's start off with those recent drill results announced November 6th. Headline number being almost 108 meters of 1.01 grams per ton gold from surface. Also included a higher grade area of almost 38 meters of 1.41 grams per ton gold. I think the most important thing is that you're continuing to expand the mineralization at this Rhosgobel discovery. Explain these drill results to us, Mike. What's Rhosgobel looking like now in terms of strike where you've been hitting gold?
Yeah, we're super happy with the results, obviously, but we've put out news before showing the extent of mineralization that we're seeing in our drill holes, the sheeted quartz veins with the visible gold, 43 holes over 12,000 meters last year with the first two holes and this year with the rest of them there. And then to be able to get back these assays that are confirming, what we obviously felt when we looked at the core, that we were hitting good grade of mineralization. Now the assay results are coming in and confirming that. So, a number of holes here, 16 of 17 have all hit greater than 100 gram meters, all very close to surface or at surface. So we continue to get great results from really what is an initial drill program on a brand new discovery. I mean, last year was two diamond drill holes. This year, another 41. So this area hasn't seen a lot of drilling, but to get these kind of numbers out of a new area that you're drilling is spectacular, to say the least. And we're outlining a big zone, 575 meters of strike length where we've gotten assays back. There's still other holes within that area that are coming back, but between the holes that are farthest apart, that's 575 meters, and we're showing that this zone is mineralized across that entire length. So a lot more drilling to do. This is the initial drill program, and I can't emphasize enough. I don't know if I've seen anybody, except Snowline, come out with great drill results like this, consistent over a large area. So we're pretty pleased with what we're seeing. We're looking forward to the rest of the drill results, and of course, really looking forward to drilling this area next year.
So, Mike, I want to dive into what the size of Rhosgobel is then, because in the highlights of that news release, and as you even outlined, you have confirmed gold mineralization over a strike length of 575 meters. You've observed visible gold over the 1.1 kilometer strike length, but then in figure 3, you also show the broader plan map that shows this overall target area as 2 kilometers by a kilometer and a half with gold in soil anomaly. So make sense of just what you've seen drilling wise and how big this could be, please.
Yeah, our drilling this year was targeted on, surface mapping, geology, soil geochem, and that figure 3 has the gold and soils plotted over the Rhosgobel intrusion. And so we picked that central trend to start our drilling, and when we hit, we just stepped out along strike. We do oriented drill core so we know which way the veins that host the mineralization are going. So we methodically stepped out to the east and west, but when you look at that map, you can see that there's parallel zones to the north and to the south, and we haven't even drilled the full extent to the east and west. So again, I can't emphasize, this really is the first significant drill program. And I mean, it's only, almost 13,000 meters and 43 holes. It's a decent sized drill program, don't get me wrong. But given the size of the target, we have a huge amount of work to do. And again, as you alluded, we just to financing over $30 million. We're looking at drilling 50 to 60,000 meters next year, and a majority of that's going to go to this new Rhosgobel discovery. I'm sure we'll do somewhere in the range of 20 to 30,000 meters on this to really start understanding the size of this. When you look at that soil geochem and the results we've had this year based on that, as well as other work, it's not just those soils. It really gets you excited about the potential size of what this new discovery is, this deposit could be, because definitely what we've drilled so far, it's outlined a big mineralized area that you can use the back of your envelope and you can start putting some numbers to it. So we'll be looking at producing a resource once all our numbers are in. We feel we'll probably have enough information to produce an initial resource on this. So that's something we're seriously considering.
So is there any way that we can compare what you've hit so far at Rhosgobel to what you already have at Blackjack and Eiger on this RC project? Those areas already have 2.8 million ounces of resources, 1.3 million ounces in indicated and 1.5 million ounces of inferred. How does Rhosgobel, how is it comparing to Blackjack and Eiger?
In my opinion here, we've drilled a huge area and gotten really consistent results. So my gut feeling is Rhosgobel definitely is showing the potential to be the largest deposit on the property. Saying that though, I mean, Blackjack has perhaps a smaller surface footprint, and that resource that you stated is within that surface. That's a open pit, conceptual open pit constrained resource. But the Blackjack is showing huge potential at depth. We're hitting higher grades at down to almost 900 meters depth. We're hitting 5 gram material. We've drilled it over a 1.1 kilometer vertical distance, whereas, Rhosgobel, we've drilled 1.1 kilometers in the horizontal distance. So, there's still a lot of potential to grow those deposits to the north. They're far from done. And when I look at the surface projection of Rhosgobel and what we're seeing, and then I look at the depth potential that Blackjack has displayed, it really, gets my geological mind worrying, because we really don't understand the depth potential of these deposits, because we haven't drilled them to depth. So again, not only do we have that surface exposure where we know this new area comes right to surface, we have a quite a large target at depth. So really looking forward to, continuing to drill on Rhosgobel, and part of that drilling is going to be outlining what comes to surface, but also, exploring what the true depth potential of this is. So a lot of work to do next year.
So currently, in the results that you've already gotten back, yeah, a lot we can just see in the cross sections are very close to surface. Have you hit anything deeper down currently in what you've already released? And how deep have you drilled? Maybe even your deepest drill hole at Rhosgobel so far.
Yeah, well, if you look at figure 2E, that's hole 23 that has assays pending. That's well over 300 meters depth, and we hit visible gold down to close to the bottom of it. So some of our holes are over 400 meters. So yeah, we're testing it down at fairly deep depths, but we're seeing this come right to surface. So a lot of work to do to step out, step back, see that surface area and where it comes to surface, and then start testing this at depth, because we haven't drilled down to the limits of what an open pit could certainly handle in this topography where we are. So it's a ton of work left to do. But again, having raised $30 million and having an outstanding field team and a great crew of geologists that are really looking forward to getting out there and starting to drill again next year. We'll be back there in probably late February, early March again, like we've done every year for the last 4 years. So it's not a long break over Christmas time before we're back in here starting to test not only the Blackjack and Eiger and the other targets, but Rhosgobel as well. So big year ahead of us.
So at depth, fine. You're going to start drilling there, testing that out more next year. What about the balance of infill drilling, because it is still early on at this asset, or expanding also along strike or in other areas where you see that you could potentially expand the overall size of this gold mineralization so far?
Yeah, certainly on Rhosgobel, it's going to be step out drilling to define an inferred resource would be the goal. So again, not knowing the extent of this at surface, our dollars would be best spent to really start outlining that near surface potential resource. So that's what we will be focused on. Obviously, every deposit, there's a time when you go to infill drilling and upgrading your confidence in those resources as you move into economic studies, and that's probably something that will be happening within the next years or two. But for now, until we really understand the size of these deposits, to move into that phase is a little premature. But as we've found in the past, like at Blackjack, when we're drilling to depth, there's been times where we've infilled in the near surface environment to target the deeper holes. So we kind of got the best of both worlds. And so that'll likely be the case for some of the Rhosgobel drilling next year. When you're targeting deeper stuff, sometimes you got to step in to where you've drilled before. So I'm sure it's going to be a combination of both. But the real focus is to really start to outline the size of these. So stepping out and doing expansion drilling as opposed to infill drilling will be the focus.
So, Mike, we've talked so much about Rhosgobel this year because of just, well, how much drilling you put in there and how it has been delivering. But you're also testing some other areas on the project with a lot of results still to come from the Pukelman area, Mayq, also at the Bear Paw Breccia zone, also the contact zone had some holes in it. So, what's still to come, not just from Rhosgobel, but any insights on these other targets as well?
Yeah, certainly as we were going through our financing, obviously we're blacked out. So that blackout is off now. So we're receiving our assays back, and we expect to have all our assays back by, early to mid-December. So you're going to see a lot of press releases coming out of us. So the areas you mentioned, Pukelman contact, they're in very close proximity to each other. Pukelman is the intrusion. Contact is a zone that's seen some historical drilling just right at the southern contact of the intrusion. We did half a dozen holes in there. There's more results from the Blackjack saddle area to continue expanding that resource as well as at Eiger. And then, as you mentioned, we did a few holes at a couple other targets, Mayq, which is the most southeastern intrusion on the project, as well as one hole at the Bear Paw Breccia, which is a quartz breccia that's a little ways outside off the western contact of the Rhosgobel intrusion. So there's some kind of weird connection there. We haven't figured that out yet. The Bear Paw's, about a kilometer away, but we've done some drilling there. So this year with our expanded program, it really gave us the ability to step away from our known deposits and start testing new areas. Obviously, that's worked out pretty nicely with the discovery at Rhosgobel. And then these other holes will certainly be announced in due course here fairly soon, hopefully. And hopefully we have other discoveries in the pipeline here that we can really up our game next year with our 50 to 60,000 meters of drilling and test a lot of them. And all these intrusions, it's quite amazing. They all have gold mineralization associated with them. So really our challenge is to get in there, find the controls on those mineralization where the gold's concentrated the most, drill them off and find more resources, because this is a real gold camp in the making, with two known deposits. The third area, Rhosgobel, obviously looking like another deposit, and these other areas that have that potential as well. There's a real there's a real cluster of gold deposits in this area, so pretty exciting.
All right, Mike, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you for outlining this round of drill results. We're consistently talking about some solid drill results out of Rhosgobel, and curious to see what comes out of some of these other targets. And then as you work towards that initial resource just for that Rhosgobel area, For everyone listening, please send me any questions you have for Mike. I'll follow up on the back of some more drill results and also post a link to the company's website in the show notes so you can read over that recent news. Mike, thanks again for your time. I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
You bet. Thanks, Court.